Breaking now on News 12, Kamala Harris has reportedly picked her running mate, and it's Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. That's according to Associated Press sources.
Now, Walz is a military veteran, a union supporter. He enacted sweeping protections for abortion rights. He's also been a strong advocate for Harris in her campaign against former President Trump.
No Republican presidential candidate has carried Minnesota since 1972. Trump and his campaign have insisted Minnesota is in play this year.
We want to get right now to our political analyst, Mike Dawidziak, to break this all down for us and for us in this area. Mike, what do you think about this pick?
Well, I usually consider real estate first, meaning electoral votes, and he really doesn't bring any electoral votes to the table. Minnesota has been a blue state in recent memory. It's as far back as any of us can remember. But he does have a solid record of winning rural conservative voters. And if he can win rural conservative voters to the ticket, that means he can win suburban moderate voters. And those are the voters that really do make the decision in those 6 or 7 swing states. So in the end, it's probably a pretty good strategic pick for her.
Mike, many polls show that most Americans don't know who Tim Walz is. Never heard of him until the past couple of weeks, maybe until today. Is that a benefit for Harris, or is that a negative?
I would say neither. Generally speaking, vice presidential picks are usually not known. They become known very quickly. I mean, Lloyd Bentsen was a institution in Washington, but was probably not very well known outside of Washington. Same with Dan Quayle, the same year. Everybody quickly got to know who both people were. You get thrust into the national spotlight when you get picked to run for vice president. So everyone's going to know who Tim Walz is very soon.
60 years old, he is a former teacher, Army National Guard in the reserve there. He previously served 12 years in Congress before being a governor for now in his second term. He also comes from a state that Trump has increasingly set his sights on trying to flip. That obviously weighed in the decision as well.
I think so. And I think that as popular as Josh Shapiro is, I don't think that the key to winning Pennsylvania, which is winning Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, those Democratic voters weren't going to come out for Shapiro if they weren't going to come out for Harris. So I think strategically, this is a pretty good pick. I mean, Mark Kelly would have also been a very, very good pick with the electoral votes up for grabs in Arizona, and being an astronaut, a fighter pilot, all the other things he brings to the table. But I think Tim Walz, in the end, is going to be a good strategic pick, particularly if he can speak to those people in the Midwest. And I think that was important for the Democrats to get away from the coasts. I think it was very important for the Democrats to move more to the center of the country to speak to those voters, because that's where more of the swing states are.
Mike, it seemed like there was a lot of momentum just a couple of days ago in Shapiro's favor for getting this pick, and some progressives voiced concerns about his support for Israel. Ultimately, instead, the choice goes to Walz. What about that, though? Potential divide in the Democratic Party on the issue of the Israel-Hamas war, even weighing in, possibly, we'll hear what Vice President Harris says about it, but possibly into her choice for her vice president.
Well, that always was a concern in the vetting of Shapiro. And really the first rule of picking a vice president is do no harm. Is not to pick somebody who's going to hurt the ticket. Because in the end, most people vote for the top of the ticket, not for the second slot. So the very first rule is do no harm. And that was certainly a concern. Not because of Shapiro's stands or anything like that, but just how other more liberal Democrats might have reacted to his candidacy.
Obviously, a lot of people will start looking into his policies, try to learn more about him. As you said, unknown many vice presidential picks and running mates until you are known. What does he have to do, you think, to people watching right now? What do you think that he has to do to win some votes based on him and maybe not Harris?
Well, he's got a very straightforward kind of folksy style, and I think that's going to probably play well with a lot of those, again, Midwest states where more of the swing voters who make the decision are. Like I said, I mean, by the end of today, most people are going to know who Tim Walz are, and over the next couple of weeks, particularly during the convention, they're going to get introduced into his history, his record, but more importantly, his style of communicating, his style of speaking, and if that plays well to those voters, this could stand the Harris ticket in good stead.
And Mike, Leslie, that style that you mentioned is being contrasted against how Republicans are already painting Walz. They're calling him far left choice. Do you think the GOP will be effective in portraying the governor of Minnesota in that way?
Well, that's their job. Their job is to put the spin on it that they always say politics is a rush for definition, and you want to define your opponent before they get a chance to define themselves. But whatever his politics might be, his record of election is that he plays very well with rural conservative voters in Minnesota. And that means he probably plays even better with suburban moderates. And again, those are the people who make the choice.
Mike Dawidziak, political analyst, finding out what we now will go into and dive into who is Tim Walz. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course.
Thank you, Mike. And we will have much more on this breaking story throughout the day.
You'll find these updates online, here on the air, and always on our free News 12 app. We'll be right back.